Thanks in advance for your attention. Santangelo, Italian books writer for over 20 years, economics professor and trainer, international manager, kickboxing world champion, an amazing mix of theory and practice. You have been nominated for the 3rd edition of the All of Stars International Awards. Will you speak about your last book, Business Combat Mindset? What is about?
Business Combat Mindset is definitely a manual of psychodynamics of combat applied to business. What is psychodynamics? Is a young discipline which has been founded in 1990 by the US psychologist Glen Gabbard, and it basically explores and makes conjectures upon the inner mechanism, the internal processes and the mental hacks which are behind the operations, the action, inaction, proactions and behaviors in general of all the human beings. So psychodynamics of combat means a sport discipline which investigates the inner processes and mechanism which lays down behind the activity and the internal processes of a fighter in the combat arena. As a matter of fact, if we apply such kind of discipline to business, what is the result? We can catch and understand the why, the how, and the when. We can apply such kind of approach, such kind of tactics and strategies to the business context for the beneficial of the businessman.
Joe, how did you come up with the idea for this book?
As a matter of fact, I have been a sport professional for over 30 years. And meantime, I have been for 20 years and more a manager of people, an international manager. So I had managed people for over 20 years. Based on such kind of experience, internationally experienced, so many years abroad, what I have learned and what I have matured in my mind is a kind of huge and clear and crystalline match between the approaches of these two apparently different contests, the business from one side and on the other hand the combat. I mean, the sense of urgency, the nerve and the emotion management which is required to the manager while executing his commitment, challenging the competitor in an exclusive solution, which means if I win, you have to lose and not vice versa. So there's no win-win approach in the competitive business as far as in the competitive sport activities. Counseling your resources, being pushed with urgency in a quick slot of time to accomplish a specific target based on limited resources. There are many items which seems to be so similar, much more than similar, they're the same thing. So based on that, I decided to write a business coaching manual to coach managers and to make them aware of this kind of match.
I see. So which are the right addresses for such a book? I mean, which kind of person you recommend to read this book?
The best audience for this volume is everyone. What does it mean? You don't have to be a world-class champion of combat to understand this book, nor a practitioner indeed. But at the same time, I've tried to address such kind of book to entrepreneurs, middle and top manager, professional consultant, all the levels, the level C and B, all the manager who are urged and required to make critical decision, manage limited resources with the final and ultimate target to achieve a goal in a short limited slot of time.
Okay, that's right, Joe. Can you give us an example? Some of the topics which are included in the book.
Of course I will. It's interesting to understand that any person who is in charge or who is in need or who is required to achieve a specific target in his professional or in his personal life has to overcome many hurdles, hostilities, many issues, and he or she has to fix these issues rationally in a very short time. This is true, but this is not the only dimension. We normally focus on this kind of dimension, the external dimension. We think that our only problem comes from the external environment, from the external world. We know we have to overcome, we have to succeed, and we have to overwhelm some limitation. And we are convinced that all these limitations come from the outside world. So we focus on that. That's what we call external antagonist, my adversary. For example, for the fighter is a person who is named with a name and surname. For the manager is the top competitors of his contest and industry contest. On the other hand, there is another strong and very dangerous adversary in our life, which lives in another dimension. This competitor lives in our mind, in our brain, and in our heart, our inner dimension. I am speaking about the internal competitor, which is called internal antagonist. Who is this person? This is a very dangerous individual. Why? Because basically he has the same name of us. He has our same voice. He teaches us what to do and what to do not. Our inner voice is our ego, is the person who we call I. When we say I, we are referring to this person. And we are not aware about the fact that this person is hostile. Most of the time, this person wants to mortify us, wants us to be on the ground, wants to limitate us, to demotivate us, is normally in fear of external circumstances and external opportunities. He wants us lack of self-confidence. He wants us low on the ground. He prefers low balance to taking risk approach. This individual, the internal antagonist, which is the ego, is our first adversary, but we are not aware about that. 60, 70 thoughts per day, every single day. They're traveling in our brain. We conceive 70,000 thoughts per day. Most of all comes from the inner adversary, which is training us not to do things. So, this is the real problem. We have to take care about our inner part, but we neglect to do that because we are not aware of that. Basically, the fighter knows how to beat this person, this individual. Why? Because if he could not beat and overcome this adversary, he will not be on the ring that day in that event because it's so strong, it's so stressful. He will be afraid of his opponent. But he is there, then this means that he knows how to beat. So, the volume basically explains with a lot of examples how the fighter approach and competencies may support the manager doing the same thing, overcoming his internal adversary to succeed in the business industry.
That sounds interesting. That makes a huge sense. Next steps?
Next steps, according to the contents of this volume, is switching from theory to practice. I'm in touch with some university and with some academic schools, and we are sharing the project of programming and developing courses, programs to develop such kind of approach to target managers, medium and top level managers, to make them aware of such kind of match, of such kind of new opportunities to improve themselves, their way of their professionality and competencies, and to help them succeeding in their world.